Let's get into the stock market technical analysis for today. We're going to look at a couple trades going on. So we'll start out here with triple Qs, tech sector. I always like to start out with triple Qs just because oftentimes the FANG stocks lead the market. You know, they're the big market cap weighted tech stocks, the mega cap tech stocks. When they move, it's just mathematical that the market is going to move with them just because of the market cap that they have. So, triple Qs, we've got, continued upside movement. I don't see any indication yet on the daily chart that this upside movement's going to stop. Looking at the hourly, we do have some resistance that we're running into right here at about 374.50. You can see that was kind of a key level of resistance back here in August. And then it was support, and we broke, and it was resistance right there. We're slightly above it right now. I don't see any negative divergence on the RSI or the PPO. So you can see here, let me go ahead and get rid of this former bullish divergence that we had. And you can see that we are making new highs in price and new highs in momentum right there. So as far as I can tell, there's no real reason to short. It looks like we're going to continue to the upside as far as I can tell. So that's all I see right now. Moving on to the SPY. Let's look here. I mean, on the daily chart, we're inching close towards an all-time high, another all-time high. I think we're likely going to get it at this point since we're so close. On the daily chart, if we make a new all-time high soon, then we're going to continue this negative divergence. You'll see it's right there. It's going to just continue to extend. So that puts, the way that I trade these is if we make a new all-time high and we have a negative divergence, it puts the odds in favor that we're going to get a correction or a pullback at that level. So not interested in shorting down here, but if we pop up and make an all-time high and we have the negative divergence, I'll start looking for another short. Looking at the hourly here, again, if you look at the hourly, you can see we're just making higher highs in momentum. See, the PPO and the RSI are both making higher highs. Can't grab that one for some reason. And we are making higher highs in price. So bullish momentum, bullish price action. Looks like we're going to continue upward to make a new all-time high, as far as I can tell. Small caps, nothing going on in small caps. They just continue sideways. You can see this big, long sideways trading range. They've been sideways, since pretty much the entire year. Just a big sideways trading range. We're heading up towards the top of the range, but until this range goes, there's just, for me, it's no trade. I'm looking for a break to the upside or a break to the downside. One thing is we just continue to build negative divergence. So maybe, if we pop and make a new high and start to break out, but we have this negative divergence, I'd put a high probability that breakout is going to fail and we're going to get a flush out move. If we burn through the negative divergence and break out and continue higher on momentum, then that will be over, big picture, that will be bullish. Let's look at Bitcoin. I know Bitcoin, there was a Bitcoin futures ETF that came out today. So let's look at the Bitcoin futures. There's been a lot of hype around that. One thing is, we're just about ready to make a new all-time high. I think the all-time high intraday is about 65,555. We're just below it. I'd expect we're going to pop that and make a new all-time high. I do not see on the daily chart negative divergence. I just see a higher high in momentum than the previous high. So here's your former high kind of in this area, and we're making a new higher high. So if we make a new higher high in price, it's just bullish in general. Bullish price action, bullish momentum, and with no overhead resistance above. So, with nothing to really target above, you could just set a stop, a trailing stop, and just let it continue to run higher until you start to see, until your stop gets hit on the breakdown. One thing to watch for, if you look at the hourly though, we are starting to put in some negative divergence on the hourly chart. So here it is, just now starting to get it on the RSI and the PPO. So there's your negative divergence, and we're making a new higher high in price. So I'd expect we're likely going to build this for a little while, maybe pop the all-time highs. with negative divergence on the hourly. Maybe we'll start to build negative divergence on the daily. A trend line to watch is that I've got on the hourly chart is just right here. And this comes off of, really comes off of October 4th. We've got a couple reactions there. So there's a reaction. There's one. There's one. There's one. So a break of that would be your next sell signal in Bitcoin. Until we see a break of that, everything looks bullish. Here's a long trade idea, Clorox. Now, I don't quite like it yet, but I think it makes sense. You could probably, in my opinion, start nibbling on this one. You'll see here that we are hitting this 158 support level. And if you go to the weekly chart, you'll notice that that is longer term support, really coming off the 2011 timeframe. This is your uptrend line. We hit it again right there. And we're just slightly below it right now, just undercutting it a little bit. I would expect a little bit of chop to take place in this area where they're going to run some stops. But we are at some major support on the weekly chart. If you look at the hourly, we're starting to get some bullish divergence building. Let me kind of zoom in there. Okay, so you can see we're just starting to get a little bit of bullish divergence right here. Not fully confirmed though. So what I'd look for is some sort of chop where this thing just chops around, maybe continues to sell down a little bit and starts to build bullish divergence on the hourly chart. And then look for a break back above 158. And that will be your buy signal, I think, is probably the best thing to do. So look for a chop and then, a gap or a break back above that 158 as your buy signal. And that would signal that we ran some stops. That was a bear raid. And then they're going to, rip it to the upside. One thing I like on the daily chart, you'll see on the PPO, we clearly have been building some bullish divergence for a while. So there it is right there on the PPO. See how we drift lower in price and yet momentum is moving higher. Not so much in the RSI. I don't see it quite there yet, but it definitely is there on the PPO. So tells me that we're in the area where we're likely going to kind of bottom out. Okay, GNRC looks like a good short to me. Here's what I like about it. One, you've got big negative divergence that's been building for a while on the RSI and the PPO. Today we popped up and made a slightly new higher high. So we have a new divergent high right here. All right, so that gives a high probability of failing. Also, we have a trend line and we're on a sell signal. So here's your trend line coming off March 2020. You held support all through here, held support there, held support there, held support there, and then we broke and we got a sell signal. So there's an impulsive breakdown followed by more selling. They've had a counter trend rally where it's a kickback rally right into resistance, popped it a little bit. Today, still continuing to pop above that, but selling down to that support level. So I'm seeing some selling in this area. I'd expect we probably get a gap down and back below this trend line and start the move to the downside. So I like it short in this area right here. I think it's objective. Doesn't mean it's going to work out because obviously we could continue to trend higher. But this is the area it would make sense to short this thing at for a move to the downside. So that's, again, just my opinion, but a trade setup. I like it right here. I'm going to take a starting position and probably add to it if I see that breakdown. Okay, gold. Gold's not really doing a whole lot. Gold bullion just continuing to kind of chop around. It's, we're holding support, slightly moving higher, but just not impulsive yet. The gold miners, they're up today slightly, but basically no change really. It looks like we're just kind of flagging out. So I don't see a change. One thing that's looks a little interesting is silver. Now here's silver futures. I've talked about this. So this is coming off of the June 16 time frame. And you can see we have this clear downtrend line. If I look at the hourly, you'll notice that basically we held resistance right here, held resistance here, and then we got this reaction right in here where we held. And today we're getting pretty impulsive buying, at least in the morning, selling off a little bit so far, but this looks like a flag where I think it's likely going to continue to the upside. So I'm seeing a buy signal and or a breakout basically from the downtrend line in silver. The other thing is we had bullish divergence that was building. So there it is on the RSI and the PPO. See how the momentum's moving up? And we continue to drift lower, making divergent lows right there. So you watch that downtrend line, and a break of the trend line is your buy signal, and there it is right there. So as far as I can tell, silver's a buy. And that would probably go for some of the silver miners. So you'll see things like PAAS. You know, it was up about 4% at the open today, selling down today, but we still have that breakout. So there's your downtrend line on PAAS, and we have a breakout. And, as far as I can tell, silver looks like it's going to move higher. Here's another silver miner, ASM. So the level I was watching on this one is this 85. If you roll out, you can see that was kind of former support right through here. It was support again through here, and then we broke below it, and it proved to be resistance, but then boom, big snapback right above it. So looks like that was a bear trap, all this price action down here, and we're going to continue higher. So I like silver, and I like the silver miners. Not all of them, obviously, but in general, a silver play looks good, and perhaps that's a leading indicator that gold's about to break higher. But yes, I do see a breakout in silver today. Okay, so I am still watching SOXX. Couple things. You have this clear uptrend line. We've got, 6 reactions to the upside. Towards the highs here on this daily chart, we basically started to build negative divergence. This is a semiconductor ETF. So we have negative divergence that's been building. And we were waiting for a breakdown or a sell signal. We got it right there. There's your sell signal, and you got follow through. However, we're getting a counter trend bounce now, which makes sense. This market loves, the dip buyers just come out like robots. Every time you get a pullback, there's going to be dip buyers. And until they're burned, that's going to remain. It's going to take more than once. The dip buyers are going to show up because that's worked for them for the entire bull market. So that's not going to go away until they get burned. They won't just one day decide to not buy the dip. They'll decide to not buy the dip when they start taking on losses after doing so. And so you've got dip buying coming in. We're ramping right up to resistance. Right now I see resistance at about 471.55, but I think it's likely we're going to run up, make a new all-time high. Maybe we'll hit resistance right up in here. So I'd look for a new all-time high at 480, somewhere right in there, and then a rejection. Okay, we have negative divergence. We've already got the sell signal. We broke trend, and we're going to back test most likely and make that all-time new high. So I'd look for that rejection. That will be your indication of your next sell signal for a move down to 384. So again, you don't want to short after the if this thing's going to sell off after it comes way down like this, and everybody's like, oh, this is a great time to short. This is not necessarily when you want to short. Oftentimes you want to short when you're running into resistance. So again, you want to buy at support and sell or short at resistance. Resistance right now is right up in this 471 up to 480, somewhere right in there. I think we're likely going to make a new all-time high, but there's your resistance zone. That's the objective area to short. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but where when you start to be wrong, where you can stop out at. As it starts to grind higher, then you can just stop out for a small loss. Otherwise, I'd expect it to reject and head lower. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Leave me a thumbs up on your way out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.